This episode of Top to Bottom is sponsored by Noted Analytics.
Down, 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 never don't want to get down, 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 down. I can make you wanna say, I'ma turn it up and then I'm gonna take a take. I can make you wanna go, never make it out. You never figure it out. Hey, look at me go, look at me drop it down low. Look at me go, look at me drop it down low.
And we're live.
Hey, what's going on, peeps? Welcome to Top to Bottom, where we address all the sales topics of the day. I'm your co-host, Keenan. Welcome back, Becc. What do you think about Tom Brady and Giselle getting divorced?
Oh, come on! Come on! These questions are not fair.
What do you think? It's a big deal.
It's a huge deal.
I think it's a very big deal. And I'm happy for Tom Brady. And
That he's getting divorced.
And his
You're happy he's getting divorced. Wow. That's
when
odd.
he said a divorce, when he said Tom Brady, I blacked out. He said he's getting a divorce.
Mm-hmm.
There are literally no words that I have.
And on that note,
Tom Brady is a
He's a what, Becc?
football player?
Yay!
There we go.
There you go. There you go.
all right, on that note, let's get on with the podcast. Our first segment is Email Teardown. This is the segment where we tear down emails that were sent to Becc and Keenan. So on to the first email. So this email says, "Hi, Jim. My name is blank, and I'm reaching out from DocuSign. We're going past the blanks. I'd like to open a channel of communication between our companies. If you're currently printing, faxing, scanning, mailing, or wet signing any documents, then my team and I would like to connect and show you why so many businesses use DocuSign to automate their signing processes. Are you available for a call Monday or Tuesday to see if DocuSign even makes sense to evaluate? If that doesn't fit your schedule, you can use the link in my signature to book a time below. Thank you. Book time on my calendar here."
Oh, my God. Okay, the first one, who's Jim? Okay, first, who's Jim? I don't know no Jims, so I don't know who this is supposed to go to, who this was for, but I can't speak to that. Okay, number one, Claire doesn't know who she's sending it to. She has no idea who she's sending it to. Number two, this whole idea of if you do wet sign, fax, scan, blah, blah, blah. So what? I do. She gives me no reason why that stuff could be wrong. Like, I do, and everything's great. My admin scans it, off it goes. My admin sends it to me. I sign it. I'm old school. Like, she's giving me no reason why any of those things are wrong, why any of those things should be reconsidered, why any of those things aren't productive to me. She just throws it out. So there's just nothing compelling about the email. There's no intrigue about the email. She doesn't know who she's sending it to. And then at the end, she says something about if I'm in the United States or Canada. I don't even know. I don't think it matters. So why the fact that she put it in there? My gut is telling me that she put it there because it's some sort of qualification to make sure that it's in her territory. Because if it's not, it's got to go to someone else, which should never be in an email. So the whole thing's a shit show, and I'll never respond to them. But I think I should have my salesperson call them because they need help. Becc, you should call them. You write these. You should call them.
I bet. What do you think about this email?
So I'll tack on two to Keenan's, but essentially mine two are, first of all, the breadth of this email, she spends half of it introducing herself and talking about a collaborative partnership, and the other half she spends trying to iron out all the scheduled times in the Calendly link. But to Keenan's point, it's bereft of any kind of why. Why would he meet? And then the second correction I would give to this from a high level is the first block of text is really, really long. And I see SDRs do this a lot. And so, like, if there are more than one sentence in a block of text, people just won't read it. So acronyms are going to be your friend. Punctuation is going to be your friend. But from an aesthetic view, I wouldn't even read this message, even if it were relevant.
All right, for sure. On to our next email, which is actually a message to Becc over LinkedIn. This says, the subject line is James Buckley. Hi, Becc. In one quarter, we delivered 128 SQLs and impacted $3.2 million in net new pipeline for one of our unicorn clients, valued at $2.3 billion, leveraging AI and automation on email and LinkedIn. Do you want to learn more? Best blank. P.S. I noticed that James Buckley gave you a glowing recommendation. Beck, why don't you go first on this one?
Yeah, so from the high level, I think this message is really deceptive. And I think it went for the open at all costs. Because it doesn't say James Buckley's recommendation. It says James Buckley. So I'm opening it thinking it's a referral from him or someone that he's just talked to. And they don't even hook it until the last line. And it's mentioned in the last line, and it's not hooked at all. It's like, by the way, James gave you a great recommendation. My second point here, and then I want to pass over to Keenan, is the recommendation that James did write me. He's talking all about, thanks, James, how great he thinks I am at creating pipeline for sales teams. So that should be a main indicator that you didn't even read the recommendation, because you're trying to pitch me services of how to create more pipeline. So if you did any research on my business or the recommendation or James Buckley, you would have not written this message. You would, wouldn't have sent this message at all. Keenan, what do you think?
No, you're right, Beck. They don't know who they're writing it to. The thing that also jumped out at me is they're trying to, what is that term? They're trying to get credibility by they work with this big unicorn customer, et cetera. They don't tell you who the unicorn customer is. Beck, with all due respect, is a one-person show.
Totally.
So why are you talking about some giant company with X millions of dollars valued at this is going to have any value to a one person or a small business or 6 or 7 or 8 person company, whatever the case may be, is a joke. It shows no relevancy. It shows no suggestion that you understand my business or how things are going. So the whole thing's a shit show. Break it off.
Break it off, we do.
128 SQLs.
128 SQLs.
How much it costs, Brendan?
All right, on to our next segment, which is Sales Mythology. This is the segment where we demystify common myths in the sales industry. So the first myth that we will be going over today is the customer's always right. Beck, why don't you start us off on this?
Yeah, Beck.
So I think, did he pay you before this episode, men? To kick it to me every time? It's fine.
Can't disclose.
So,
Ooh, I like that.
I think the customer is always right is one of the biggest myths, certainly within selling. But I do think they're right about one thing. What they're right about is that they have a problem in their head that they either want to solve or solve for. And they're right in the fact that they have the right to want that.
That was almost a woke statement.
They have the right to want that. They have the right to want to solve that problem. What they're wrong about, though, usually, just statistically, and what salespeople miss is they're typically wrong about, or what's in question of whether they're right, is are they right in their self-diagnosis of what the condition is? Are they right in their self-diagnosis of what's causing the problem? Are they right in their self-prognosis of what they think is happening to them because of this problem? Because they might be wrong there too. Are they right in their self-prescription of what service of yours will solve that problem for them? And are they right that this problem is solvable at all? So there's a lion's share of things. I'm not going to necessarily say that they're wrong. Statistically, usually they are. But I think that is all of the meat and the fodder of what I think salespeople don't need to challenge via their words, but they need to uncover or challenge the assumption that all of that is correct. Keenan, what do you think?
I think there is one word to describe the fact that this is a myth. There's one word that proves this is a myth, that the customer is not always right. There's one single word that illustrates in its totality that the customer is not always right. Are you ready?
What is it?
I'm ready.
Karen. Karen, we have video after video, YouTube, TikTok, etc., of Karens walking in demanding something because they're right. Demanding copy at a certain time, demanding it made in a certain way, demanding this, demanding that. No. The customer is not always right. That's an extreme, but the truth of the matter is the customer is not always right. I say in my book, do not be the customer's bitch, okay? the customer does not always know what they want, as Beck said, right? Beck is right. The customer hasn't always processed the assessment. I mean, the problem correctly or the environment correctly. The customer doesn't always know what they don't know, right? So a lot of times they don't even understand what they have to be right or wrong, right? I'll even go a step further. The customer isn't always right in how they should buy, right? There are customers like, I don't want a discovery. Just show me the demo. No, because in many cases, if I do this, you're going to buy the wrong thing and you're going to come back and get mad at me. Right? So no, in no situation whatsoever is the customer always right. Instead, we need to be shooting for an environment where the customer and the buyer are working in tandem, side by side, as equal, valuable partners, each bringing unique value to the collaborative conversation so that we can solve the problem together. And if either one of them thinks they're more right than the other, just like a shitty marriage, that thing's going to go down in flames.
All right, on to our next sales myth, which
to be clear, I'm really sorry, Tom Brady. Sorry for what you're going through. My condolences.
She hired a lawyer today. She's not messing around.
While we're on the topic. But I think what you're saying, before we go on, man, I think what you're saying is brilliant. I think to give them
Stop, everybody. Wait, stop. Beck just said I'm brilliant. I want this clipped out. I want this on a recycle meme. Like I could upload from my phone. Keenan's brilliant. Keenan's brilliant.
I say that all the time.
All right, we're good to go. My day has been made.
I say that all the time.
I got it on video.
I'll make it a 10-hour video for you, Keenan.
I love you, Beck.
So point being on his now I don't know where the point is. You made me lose the point. Damn you. Oh, to their credit, it's because normally when they come in the door with salespeople don't do any of what we just talked about. So they don't see them as their ally. So they're like, just give me the freaking demo or give me the freaking product because I'm going to have to self-prescribe anyway. And I'm going to have to self-diagnose this whole thing anyway. So just give me what I want. And in that regard, I'm like, they're correct. So there's an interesting study. I saw a company just recently. They essentially pulled the sales reps from demoing. They just put a demo up on their website.
Yeah, we're doing that with our new acquisition. You want to see a demo? You're going to go to like a 7-minute video and say, you want to see more? Call us. That's how we're doing it. I drink my own Kool-Aid, baby.
And yep. I want you to guess how it impacted conversion into
growth. Oh, through the roof. It went through the roof.
So meaning salesperson involved, salesperson not involved.
They fuck it up. Yep.
Yeah. So actually it was positive in terms of conversion when the salesperson wasn't involved. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't think that there is a need for salespeople, but I think the need as they currently are 99.9% of the time of like, if you aren't going to challenge all of that, or if you aren't going to uncover what you think is the accurate thing, that's causing everything, then I think that you should go ahead, and demo. So it's just an interesting
proper discovery. If you can't do a proper discovery, just give them the demo in a video.
Yep. Then the customer is right. Give them the demo.
Yep. But not with my people.
Okay, on to the next sales myth, which is my AEs should approve whether something is qualified. Keenan, why don't you start us off with this?
I didn't even know this was really a myth. AEs should approve something that's qualified?
Mm-hmm. So basically when SDRs come in.
Yeah. Now, wait, if it's a myth, I'm not supposed to disagree. So I think, BDRs can qualify. No,
whether they say it's qualified, like they say it's a sales accepted lead, or they say it's a sales accepted opportunity, or they say that this is what happens usually.
Okay.
The person comes in the door, the AE gives them a demo, and then the AE has the right in most cases to decide based on if the prospect has a need, if they have buyer intent, if their authority in the room, whether they say that this was a quote unquote qualified meeting and the SDR is paid or not paid because of that quote unquote qualification.
So, I mean, using that example, I'm trying to stay in your lane with the whole myth concept, but I have to get out because I just don't think this is a myth, or at least I don't think we're asking the right question. To me, the right question is, should the process dictate it? And the way I look at it, the process should dictate it, because at gap selling and ASG, the definition of a qualified lead is about as simple as it gets. Does a problem exist we can solve? Does the customer admit they have the problem? Does the customer want to solve the problem? Will the customer go with us on a journey to solve the problem? So it's very difficult for an AE to not qualify an opportunity, or better yet, even the BDR to send a qualified lead to the AE when he says, here's the problem. Let's say it's an SEO company from earlier today. Hey, their organic traffic is less than 2% of their overall traffic. They haven't seen any growth, and their inbound leads are declined by 20%. That's a problem. That's a qualified lead. End of discussion. Move on. I don't give a fuck what the AE says. You see what I'm saying? So I think we're spending too much time focused on the AE and whether or not they have done it, as opposed to the data that sits in the field. What data did the AE get, or did the PDR get, and is that a qualified data?
What do you think about that, Beck?
Well, in Equip, I've seen it be one of the most crippling things to organizations is when AEs can say whether it's qualified or not. And the reason being, they're measured on conversion. So if they go into the room and they mess up the appointment, they're never going to say, they went dark on me, or they weren't qualified, because they have an inherent bias and agenda to improve their conversion numbers, to say something. And I see this all the time, that they say something's qualified 2 seconds before it closes. And even if you reel it back a little bit, it's usually going to be on subjective information of did they have buyer intent? It's well, if they're on the line for some reason.
Buyer intent.
So it's create buyer intent. And the way that you create that is uncovering problems that they didn't know about, or uncovering root causes that they didn't know about. So I think that the myth is, and normally they're saying it's 2 out of 4 criteria of BANT, of budget and decision maker. If they have that, then they're qualified. And I think because of the inherent bias of AEs to basically, blame pipeline if they're not hitting their numbers, then that it's absolutely one of the worst practices you could do.
I think what we stumbled on, Beck, is it's really not the AE BDR concept. It's really the process. We should probably talk about the process of qualifying.
Well, now it's time to get on to our next segment, which is
Take It or Leave It.
This is my favorite one. I love this one. It's my favorite.
Love this one. This is the segment where I introduce common sales tactics, and Beck and Keenan let us know whether they would take it or leave it. So the very first one, we'll start with you, Beck, is recording your sales calls or Zoom calls. Take it or leave it.
I go back and forth. Keenan hates to teave it.
You can't teave it. You've teaved every single one.
I hate to teave it. I would say it depends on the org. It depends on the org. I will say the negative side that I don't see people talk about is it does impact the conversation, meaning people are just more guarded when the thing's recorded. Now, on cold calls, you're going to have that less, but over Zoom, I've seen it makes people tighten up a little bit more. But overall, for a sizable org, you have to have it recorded. You have to have it recorded so that a manager can understand and diagnose what's going wrong. But it does impact a little bit negatively.
Okay, what about you, Keenan? Take it or leave it?
Take it. I'll say take it so many times to overshadow the teave it, whoever the frick it is. Listen, people, I got look, number one, the few times that I've never seen, but I'm going to defer to Beck, that I've seen someone tighten up on this is only short term. You do this long enough, everybody gets comfortable, everybody moves on, everybody gets it, number one. But number two, you cannot build, listen to me closely, everybody, you cannot build a successful sales organization unless you create observable coaching moments. And there has been no better tool than the recording for management to create coaching observable moments to help the rep work in not quite real time, but in real time for what they see on how to change and ask different questions and attack it differently. You are absolutely denying and crippling your organization if you don't record and feedback from them.
I agree. For the record, I agree, but there is a little downside. Keep in mind, this is coming from a girl. This is coming from a girl who built 2 teams of recording software.
Downside's too small.
Pause. My background is I built the 2 teams who do this.
Great.
I'm just
So
saying. I'm just
she
saying.
just pulled the
have-
55-year-old. I've been doing this for 25 years.
No, but I'm saying I worked for and built the teams for the products that did this, and I'm saying I have seen some downside.
I just said it's too small. I didn't say you didn't see the downside. I said it's too small. The upside is way
That
too big.
know of.
Oh my God.
Well, on to the next one. You can't do outbound sales profitably with under $5,000 ACV. How about Keenan? You start us off on this one.
ACV. Yeah, look, that's a broad question because I'm going to bring the business in. Generally speaking, I'm going to say take it. Okay, and I'm not even make it a TVIT, but I am going to suggest that I may not be aware of a business where the costs associated with that sale of product or the gross margin is so large that you can still pay a salesperson all that shit. But I think they're outliers. So the truth of the matter is, if it's under 5,000 ACV or single deal, you should set up an entirely automated process from a B2B perspective that walks them through it. And if they want to talk to someone, they could do it through chat or whatever. But that's not worth hiring a sales team. Now, the last piece is, unless it's highly, highly, highly transactional, so that it can be sold in less than 15 days and reps can sell, 25 or 30 of these a year, then you got my attention.
What about you, Beck? Take it or leave it.
I would say if I was a manager, I would think about using process and marketing to do that. I mean, it's dependent upon the situation. But if I'm a rep, I don't have a choice. So it's like, I don't need to even be asking this question. I would need to go ahead and outbound.
Okay, and one last one is texting prospects on outbound. Beck, take it or leave it.
Hard leave it. I think it's disrespectful. I think that it's intrusive. I think that it's not right from my view. Like, we have a tricky world with cell phones being our landline now, so to speak. And I think texting is way too far. It's way too comfortable, way too soon. And I think it's offensive to me to a large degree.
All right, what about you, Keenan? Take it or leave it.
Man, I cannot believe this. I'm totally in agreement with Beck. I got you. 100%. Look, cold calling is intrusive as it is already. We're interrupting them. So now you're going to interrupt them in a text, which is oddly enough more personal than a call because they can't ignore it, can't not pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
No. 100% leave it. I think Min loves that thing.
I know. He does. He's just waiting. He's like, say something.
Yeah. He should get 2 in like quick draw.
Oh, the quick draw? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
This episode of Top to Bottom is sponsored by Noted Analytics. Are you tired of losing sales opportunities to the status quo? Not seeing meaningful information in CRM to help close deals? Empower your team with Noted Analytics, the first guided selling for CRM platform that uses sales methodologies like gap selling, Medic, and others to revolutionize the way revenue teams capture, evaluate, and measure sales process effectiveness. Start increasing win rates, shortening sales cycles, and growing average sales prices today. Check it out at notedanalytics.com.
Well, on to our next segment, which is
The Inbox.
This is the segment where Beck and Keenan answer questions from the audience. And to help us with that, we have the mighty Mailbox, which is
Leave it.
open for business.
Open for business.
Okay. This first one was actually a comment on the last podcast. It was from Thomas Hudson from Robosol.
Hey, Tommy.
And I've condensed it a little bit just to give more time for y'all to answer. But basically, he was asking, when trying to get from technical problems to business problems, what are your recommended approaches? Beck, why don't you start us off on this one?
It's Keenan's work. No, Keenan's starting.
Beck
right.
used
All
her
right.
one and only deferment for today.
All right. So look, man, it should be natural. Like, I think that's the hard part that people don't understand. First off, do a PIC, problem identification chart, right? But secondly, if you know all the technical problems, the business problem should be as clear as hell, right? It's based on what you sell. So when you go through them, if you're selling application development software that helps them develop applications faster, helps them make it more secure, helps them create a more efficient process, helps them submit the releases quicker, etc. When you ask all these technical questions, get to the root causes, you're like, oh yeah, we're missing our release dates, or we're submitting code that has bugs in it, and these are all root causes that I bet people listening have already figured out what the business problem is. So the business problem is you're not getting your applications out to the public on time, or you're missing your release dates, or you're falling behind the competition. It's just a natural. If you don't know what the problem is from the root cause, I question why you think they're root causes. It should be a natural flow of what the problem is if you know the root causes.
All right, what about you, Beck? What do you think?
Yeah. So from a flow perspective, if someone comes in with a technical problem, which a lot of times they'll say like, I want better cold emails. I think from a transition perspective, the question that you need to answer, not necessarily immediately, but throughout the breadth of the conversation is why. Like, why do they want better cold emails? Like, what can they not do? And I see within benefit-centric selling and people getting these two confused a lot. Great example is like save time, save money, more time, more money. Right. And the difference is that benefits are just generic upsides about the product. Imagine you like gave me a pill and you're like, well, it'll make you smarter and it'll make you run faster and it'll make you look better in the morning and blah, blah. And it's like, cool, but does that solve my broken leg? No. Well, then that's what I need to solve. So that's usually a good litmus test that you're around benefits. But from the technical perspective, I'd say a business problem usually is going to orient itself around someone's buyer persona metric. What goal can they not achieve? What thing can they not do because of the technical problem? And you need to get to that. So I'd say that from a transition perspective, just question why. Why do they want better emails? What can they not do because
or flip it, because you're not getting the emails you want.
What's happening?
Or not even what's happening. You should be smart and say, is this happening? Right? I use it like a marriage. You and your wife aren't communicating very well. Are you guys arguing more because of it? Do you find that you're sleeping in different rooms? Are you close to divorce? Like you should know what they are.
Well, and to your perspective, or to your point, even if they say that none of that's happening, then I genuinely am questioning them. Like, then why do you think that you need better emails? I actually think that your emails are great.
Yes, exactly. Yep, you got it. Yep.
Okay, well, we have 1 minute left. We're going to quickly go through another question. This is from Brent Kennedy from New Haven, Connecticut. Hi, Beck and Keenan. I am a sales director for a small HVAC startup. One of my roles is to take all of the leads gathered by my SDRs and assign them to my AEs, or lead assignment. I currently do round robin style lead assignments, but I'm wondering if this is the best way to go about it. What are your thoughts?
I'll make it quick. Yes. Anything else will be perceived as unfair, disrespectful, and you don't need that type of cultural bullshit. If people are messing up, then you address those people messing up. You don't give more people other leads. Beck?
I would say hard no. It's not the best way to do it. Round robin can cause on a side note of like varying qualities, varying amounts. Sometimes it depends on if they have owned and unowned accounts. But a lot of times if I'm strapped with a BDR, who isn't that good and I round robin inbound, then it can make them have disparate amounts. We're not on the same page today, Keenan.
No, it's okay. Look, time balances that out.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it does. It's simple statistics. Time will balance that out.
I've never seen an org that worked, that happened.
Then you didn't look at it long enough. It's impossible. It's like a quarter flipping, and to say that it's never going to come up 50-50. It works out over time.
Actually, even 50-50 with a coin, it's statistically more likely to be a tails. Because the weight of the coin. It's not 50-50. Point being, I've never seen, I know the theory, but I've never seen it play out for an org, including the ones I've run or the ones that I've consulted for.
Okay.
Okay, on to the next segment. I know we can argue about this for hours on end, but to the next segment, which is
the challenge.
This is the segment where Beck and Keenan break down a challenging subject within the sales industry. And today's challenge is quiet quitting. Is quiet quitting a good option? And overall, how do you stay motivated in the SDR or AE role? Becc, would you like to start us off?
I wouldn't, man.
But you're going to do so anyway.
You asked a question.
I know. I already told you, Min, to stop asking her.
Sorry, that was my fault. That was my
I
fault.
said, this is
Becc, go
your-
ahead.
Go ahead, Beck.
I think it's default Keenan, but
Nope. I already took one of your deferments.
so
I'm not Trump in the military.
I think so quiet quitting from what I know it to be, and y'all can level me up in the conversation, but I from what I understand that to be is you're not getting what you want from the org, so you're going to basically stop doing your best job, stop doing all the things that you could kind of as a rebuttal or as a punishment for what they're doing to you, correct? I just want to make sure I level set on the term.
That's how I interpret it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, no, you should never do that. I do see a lot of it. And I think the root of it is it's extremely, and Keenan had mentioned it off record a couple days ago, but it's really passive aggressive. And it's really hard, to people's credit, it's really hard to be direct. So there's passive aggressive and then there's active aggressive, and neither one are in the adult ego state. Like being direct about what you want and what you need is going to be like the perfect harmony. I understand that's really, really difficult. So, most people, when I see them in a situation, that they don't want to be in, it's because they didn't in the interview process ask the right questions, and maybe they had the rosy colored glasses. And so I would be asking, for the future role, I think you have to learn it once, but I'd be asking the questions that were really important to me of like, can you tell me about how you coach your reps and, the top 5 things that you coach them against, or can you tell me about the conversion, or can you tell me about their KPIs and how many reps are hitting quota, and et cetera, et cetera. And again, I think you have to learn it once. But in no case behavior, I was stuck at an org. I worked for an org and it was really, 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 really great for 2 years.
Were they
2
really
years.
great?
I learned the most there until I got this boss. And it was really, really hard on me because, the more work that I did and the more things that I helped him with, the more of I think, if I had to guess, a threat it was. And so it became a really toxic relationship. And so after about, 2-3 months of it, I quit. And I think that that's what you should do. You should you can't control much. Passive aggression is used to control people. But the thing you can control is yourself, whether you decide to stay in the situation. And so that's the lever that I would try to pull, is evaluate the situation and say, do I need to move on from this opportunity? But if you do stay, then you need to give everything that you've got.
All right, Keenan, the floor is yours.
Beck nailed it. Look, quiet quitting speaks volumes to who you are as a person. Sorry, people, but if you're quiet quitting, that's disgusting. You've quit on yourself. You have convinced yourself somehow that it's okay to do a half-assed job and then blame leadership or management for your half-assed job, right? Look, this is going to probably upset some people, but if I had to create a real environment where quiet quitting was a thing, it was slavery, okay? Like slaves got really smart at figuring out how to quiet quit. So what they would do is for instance, they'd break a harness or make a harness look like it broke by accident so that it would have to be fixed so they could take some time off or wouldn't have to do something, right? Well, that's slavery, right? You're going to try to quiet quit at every fucking opportunity you have because you don't want to be doing it. You're forced to do it. Or if you're in the penitentiary and you're being forced to, that's where quiet quitting is okay because you have no say. You have no ownership, okay? People, listen to me. If you're quiet quitting, you've given up. You've relinquished any control of who you are and the choices you've made, and you've literally chose to put yourself in the victim mentality. And that is fucking pathetic. It's fucking pathetic. I don't know how to do a job that I'm not going to be good at. Like, even if I don't like it, my dad would make me do stupid shit like go out and rake people's yards and clean up for money. We didn't make me, but he said, go make some money. So I'd go make some money. Man, me and my brother would work our skin to the bone because I wanted to look good. Once I got into it and it was my work, I wanted it to look good. I remember my brother and I spent an entire day on this woman's backyard, this old lady. We made the mistake of not telling her how much we would do it for. We just said we'd do it. Took us the entire day, pulling out roots, pulling up trees, moving rocks, raking. It was a fucking shit show. She paid us $10 each.
Yeah.
Right? But man, I'll tell you what, it looked fucking good. Like, it looked good. Right? So that's the thing. You have some pride. If you're quiet quitting, you're basically saying you have no pride. Now, we've created an environment in this world where we have allowed employees to be the victims because business has fucked employees over so many times. It's shifted. The pendulum's come way over to the employee now. And it's all the employee's the victim. Big business sucks. The employee. Well, I'm sorry. It's got to come back a little. Right? So, like Becc said, individuals need to pay attention in the interview and find out if it's the right company. But guess what? Businesses need to do the same thing and do the right job in interviewing people to make sure they're the right fit and the right person. I literally had a woman, it's the second time in the last 7 interviews, yesterday, hang up on me in the middle of the interview. She said, this does not feel comfortable to me. I think this is an interrogation. I don't like this. This is too much. Click, hung up. Now, let me tell you what I did to her. I kept asking her all these questions. I won't go too into it, but I kept asking her all these questions about what makes you different and how would you approach this? And she kept giving me all the platitudes. Well, I work really hard. I have a lot of attention to detail. I'm really empathetic. I have great, intuition. But I said, that's just telling me. So I said, okay, what's your intuition telling you about this interview? Well, it hasn't gone on long enough. We're 20 minutes in, and you just told me you had amazing intuition. Amazing intuition says to me, you figured out where this is a long time ago. So if you have 18 minutes, so I question your intuition. She gave me this look. I said, now you said you have attention to detail. Explain to me how that's different. And she just said, well, I just have a lot of it. And I said, well, explain. And I said, so I'm confused. I don't know how you have any more than someone else. I said, do you think anybody else comes in and says I don't have attention to detail? You're not differentiating yourself. So I'm confused at what makes you think you're any better. Watch what I'm doing here. I know I'm taking time. My holding her accountable for her claims. See what I did? I have intuition. I have attention to detail. I have this. So my questions that challenge her perception of that and holding her accountable, put her over the edge. She lost her shit. And so what happened was she felt outed. She felt outed. And because she felt out that she couldn't explain it, I can see that she's probably not as good as she thinks she is or she wants me to believe. So guess whose fault that is now? Mine. No. That's yours. So anybody who's quiet quitting, you're finding the same bullshit victim mentality. Take a good, long, fucking hard look in the mirror and ask yourself, why are you doing this to you? Forget the company. To you. And why do you think so little of yourself you'd allow that to happen? Sorry if that felt wrong, but this is
No, it's really good. It's funny that you say that because I looked it up, after you mentioned something yesterday. And one of the antithesis, things that you can do to someone who's deep in passion aggression is essentially accountability of stating, in a mute way, like facts of things that they just said. And I want to have a lot of sympathy here or empathy here, or maybe both. I've been in those stages, at points, and it feels easier in the short term to just get mad and blame everyone else. And it's like, hey, sometimes you were misled by a company and you didn't see it coming. I would still say you had something to do with it. I'd be able to call the cards, yada, yada, yada. But point being, even if you do get in that situation and you deploy this, maniacal basically book on how you're going to get them back, it doesn't help you any.
Nope.
It doesn't help you any. What does help you is saying, this isn't hitting my needs, what I need. I'm going to walk away and find a situation that does. Yep. That's where you can grow. So I think just really thinking about what you want, and usually what they're bringing up is I wasn't coached. I couldn't grow in my career, on. And I'm like, then in that proclivity, go find the things that are going to do that for you. And how you do that is not by sitting here and pouting and metaphorically pooping in everyone's coats when they don't even know about it. So I'm like, just walk on.
Yeah, I agree. Look, it's like the old quote. It's not what happens to you, it's how you choose to react.
That's perfect.
And most people don't choose to react properly.
I think this is perfect time. Okay.
I bet your wife loves that, or your girlfriend loves that.
Oh, she hates it to high hell.
I bet. Men said he changed my phone ringtone. What is it? A tornado sound?
Oh yes, so I changed her ringtone to well the vibrations like feels like an earthquake, but the sound is more of like a car crash. Or
I can prove him to tell me that.
hey, I have to make sure that when Beck or Keenan call me up on the phone that I'm right there. But okay, we're on to our very last section, which is the rant. Which is Beck and Keenan giving us their closing thoughts for this podcast. So, Keenan, why don't you go first? What is your rant for today?
I want to talk about women, and more importantly, I want to talk about how men treat women, and we got to fix this. The U.S. National Women's Soccer League just did a 350-page report that is filled with disgusting, over-the-top sexual abuse, mistreatment, sexual, what's the word I'm talking about? The broad term for sexual abuse. It's a shit show. Women being forced to have sex, women being spoken to inappropriately, women being inappropriately touched, etc. It is disgusting. We've had this, we've had the gymnastics, and here's the problem. Is it new? People were complaining about it. People were reporting it. People were doing something. And guess who sits atop of this? Men are the ones who sit on top of this. Men are the coaches. Men are on the board. Now, yes, there are some women, but everybody pushes it down, tries to hide it, tries to cover it up, and it's fucked up. I don't understand why this has to keep happening. I don't understand why people aren't getting serious repercussions, like their careers ended. No, you cannot be around this anymore. If my sorry ass goes into the park or touches one of these kids on my daughter's ski team or something inappropriate, I'm going to jail. Okay, I'm going to jail. These men don't even get fired. And if they do get fired, they get hired by another fucking coach. There's no criminal persecution or anything. I'm over it. We as a society, but particularly men, have got to get their heads out of their asses. And I'll say it because I'm one of the old ones, 50 and older, 55 and older. That's my group. So fuck you if you don't like me saying it. We're the problem. We're the problem. Old fucking dudes are fucking this world up. And particularly when it comes to women, it's time to stop. It's disgusting. Go read the 350-page report of what's happening in women's soccer. You all saw what happened in gymnastics. And there's one of those I'm missing off the top of my head. It's enough. We have to stop. I'm over it. It's enough. Women need to rule the world. I think that's it. Women should be in all leadership positions for the next 25 years. Done.
There we go. Beck.
No rant for me today. We're ending on that.
Are we ending on that? Okay, perfect. Well, in that case, thank you both so much for coming on to this podcast.
All right. Hey, sorry, everybody. This is Keenan. This has been Top to Bottom, where we address all the issues when it comes to sales. I am a co-host, and Beck, thank you.
This is Beck. Until next week.
Peace. I'm out.